What up, fam? This is a special one as we recorded our first in-person episode here at the Kinn in Venice, California, which is a membership network, accelerator, and workspace for conscious entrepreneurs. I'm stoked to announce that the Kinn is the new home for the Conscious Profits Unfiltered podcast, as this space and network of mission-driven humans is naturally aligned with the mission of the show. We kicked off the show's new home with a conversation with the Kinn's founder, Oliver Evans. Oliver shares his journey from being deep in the New York nightlife scene to a spiritual awakening that led him to where he's at today. We'll delve into his transformation, the essence of the Kinn, the key elements of conscious entrepreneurship, the balance between profitability and purpose, and the obstacles faced by entrepreneurs seeking a more meaningful path. What I love about Oliver's story is that it's not about throwing away or not accepting one's past, but instead really taking and using all of the knowledge and success from a previous lifestyle into a new purpose-driven mission. Frankly, that resonates a lot with me personally, and if you know about me, you know that's the case. And by the way, if you are living in LA and are interested in a community of conscious entrepreneurs who are making a positive impact in the world, you should definitely check out the Kinn. And of course, you can find those links in the show notes on your podcast platform, or if you're watching on YouTube, there as well. Guys, if you like the show, please share with a homie or on social media, and definitely subscribe. It truly means the world to me, and you're helping to be a part of this consciousness revolution that we're experiencing. Enjoy the show. Welcome to the show, Oliver. This is super exciting because this is the first time, first of many, that Conscious Profits Unfiltered is being recorded live here at the Kinn in Venice, which is an accelerator, a membership network, and a workspace for conscious entrepreneurs, which is right up my alley. So congratulations on launching this.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, really exciting, really exciting. So Oliver, I start all my podcasts by asking my guests this question. What was your last oh shit moment? What is the first thing that comes to mind? It could be like a positive oh shit, or it could be a negative, whatever you want it to be.
I think it was actually this morning, having my good friend Hunter McIntyre give us a talk about mindset and a winning formula for peak performance and success. And he talked about getting up in the morning at like 4 a.m. and hitting the ground running. And I'm like, do you know what? I got up at 7. I definitely didn't hit the ground running. And what am I doing? I need to start bucking up and start getting up earlier and really applying myself more than I thought I had before. And it just shows you need to start surrounding yourself with others that are like upping up their game.
Hit the ground
so
running,
you can actually exceed your expectations of yourself by being in their company. So yeah, that was literally just now. I was like, I need to step it up. I need to step it up.
Okay.
Yeah.
I heard this rule from Tom Bilyeu, who's also a big podcaster. It's a 5-second rule. If he's up and he's awake, within 5 seconds, he has to get out of bed.
Yeah.
And I thought about that's an interesting one because it's almost like if you go past those few seconds, then it just kind of gets a little cozy and all that, which I think is healthy to do that sometimes. Like you get a weekend, enjoy that,
well, You talk yourself into it. You're like, do you know what? I worked hard last night. I got to bed late. I got my 8 hours, maybe 8.5, give or take. But no, you need to be regimented. Get up at a certain time, get on with the day and crank. Like, you feel better for it.
Yeah, absolutely. You definitely do feel better for it.
Yeah.
So, Oliver, because this is the new chapter, right? So,
right.
Oliver, you cut your teeth in the New York nightlife.
Yeah.
In nightclubs, promotion, just in hospitality in general. By a lot of people's standards, I mean, you were living, bro. Like that is living. Were there moments where you kind of had to pinch yourself because of a certain party you were at, or a certain gorgeous model that was vibing you or something like that? Like, what was that like?
Yeah, I mean, coming from a small village in the UK and working my way up the ranks of the New York nightlife scene, from being someone's sub-promoter, earning about, 50 to $100 for bringing in the 2 people that I knew, to then going to like Cannes Film Festival and walking the red carpet with Leo and a lot of the top actors. It was, it was quite the journey. But.
Yeah, and so what about that journey just wasn't cutting it for you? Because that sounds like an amazing journey for most people. That's like, yo, you made it. Like, just keep that going.
Well, that's what I thought. As a kid, bright lights, big city, rub your shoulders with the best of the best when it comes to actors and famous people and people that are super affluent and have all the means, and that's how you think you want to live life. And I think I was blessed in the sense that I got a taste for that early in my life. And sometimes you need to experience something in order for you to be like, do you know what? That's actually not what I want. And also just spending time with them and realizing a lot of people weren't actually that happy. They had all the blessings of life. And unfortunately, they were just quite numb, a lot of them inside. And I actually started feeling like that after a few years of being in the nightlife space.
Yeah, I think that I have a similar, background to yours in the sense of, I mean, I was not specifically with my job, but I was definitely having, living a lot of nightlife and having a lot of fun in that aspect. And definitely started feeling unfulfilled. Was there a moment specifically for you that hit you that you were like, okay, this is no longer for me? Was it like one big night you woke up one morning, you're like, this is it? Or was it more of a process?
It was definitely a process. It was just, a lot of late nights, late mornings, early afternoons, and just, became more of a lifestyle. And obviously it's not the healthiest lifestyle.
Yeah.
I kind of 29, I'm approaching 30, just thought to myself, I can't really live like this any longer. What am I going to be, like a nightclub promoter at 45 years old that's rallying women and rich people and getting them seated? Yeah. I mean, it's fine career. You can make some money from it, but it kind of wasn't what I set out to do, and I found myself in a situation after 3-4 years as being identified as the New York nightclub promoter. Yeah, and that definitely wasn't a label that I wanted. So it took a while to kind of transition and get out of that.
So it was a process. It was this sort of inner voice that was slowly kind of peaking, and you're like, this ain't it.
Definitely.
Yeah. You told me that you went on this spiritual journey. What is that like? A lot of people don't really know what that means. Like, what was it like? How long was it? What were you doing?
I mean, you could say spiritual. You can say growing up and really, trying to understand kind of who you are, what you're supposed to be doing, what is life about, and trying to find a little bit more meaning in the chaos. So I did a workshop. I got introduced to Tony Robbins' work quite early on in my life, and read his books and got the opportunity to go to Unleash the Power Within 4-day conference in New Jersey, and that was kind of the shift.
The one where you walk on fire.
Yeah, you walk on fire. And you got the big man on stage beating his chest like a big silverback gorilla, and it was quite the presence on stage, and very, very inspiring to see a guy like that captivate such an audience, and obviously talk through what it took for him to build himself. He instead of saying he is who he is, he was born his way, he was like, I built this. And seeing a guy that had built it from nothing was incredible to be part of and experience. Yeah.
And so was that the beginning of this sort of journey of getting yourself? Did you go out and then you traveled somewhere? Were you doing more workshops, meditating? Were you taking on different things?
I was a mad personal development junkie. Yeah. I was everything to try and understand like where I was and how to better myself and figure out how do I get out of this industry? What is it going to take for me to level up so I get the skills and the mindset to then evolve into the person that I wanted to be. So soaking up various workshops, I did TM, transcendental meditation, and started really focusing on mindfulness. Working out. I did the New York Marathon, to set myself up for, a discipline routine, getting up earlier and applying myself to something outside of a nightclub.
A marathon sounds so daunting to me. And I'm an athlete, I'm athletic, and just that sounds like there's such more of a mental, it's a beyond physical, right, to actually complete the 26 miles, right? It just sounds like gnarly.
Yeah, I mean, it was obviously exhausting. And I actually did it in 2012 with the Hurricane Sandy. So unfortunately, it got cancelled. So I did the Central Park loop about, I don't know, a dozen times to get to that 26-mile mark.
Interesting.
And, not quite as much pressure, but made it round and worth all the training, because that's obviously where the growth happens is the early mornings and the discipline to.
Yeah, I have a very wise mother, and one of the things I was thinking about when you were talking about the sort of self-development junkie, because I've totally gone down that. I kind of am that. And sometimes she'll be like, just remember, you're not a self-improvement project, right? So it's this like, you're a human still. You're not a self-improvement project, because it could be so easy to get caught into that sort of self-development junkie mentality. And almost by doing so much of it, you get into the I'm never enough mindset. I feel like, do you feel that there's like a little bit of a balance there sometimes of accepting where you are, but also continuing to climb?
Definitely. It's important to educate yourself on the tools and techniques and kind of what's out there. That's first and foremost. But once you get to a point where you kind of understand what it's going to take for you to grow and evolve, you have to apply. You have to fail numerous times, again and again and again. And I got caught on that habit train of doing the next workshop, reading the next book, having that conversation about what I'm going to be doing because I did that incantation in the morning and all that meditation. It's like, no, you actually need to have the blood and the sweat and the tears of working through projects or businesses or challenging relationships. And that's really where the juice is.
Absolutely. It's the integration. That's where the key is. And it's sort of the same thing where, for example, I'll talk to a lot of people that, go on a journey and they'll do like a plant medicine or ayahuasca or something like that. And where it's very revealing and it could be very much like, here are sort of the answers or these are the tools or this is what you were looking for. And that's almost like, that's really only like 10%.
Right.
90% of it is coming back to your actual normal life,
100%.
Integrating it. And like you said, the blood, sweat, and tears, and going through that work, right?
Yeah, because it's interesting. A lot of people are talking about ayahuasca and psychedelics as then the epiphany moment of how you shift your consciousness.
Right.
And I look at psychedelics like I'm on a boat and there's a telescope and I can see the island for the first time because I've just cleared the lens. But after the experience, I haven't got closer to the boat. To the island rather. I've just seen it through this clear lens for the first time. The integration is mindfulness. It is the breath work. It is the working out. It is all the businesses that you've got to set up and fail again and again and again. The daily integration. Yeah,
absolutely.
Definitely.
Integration is everything.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that analogy. That's a really cool analogy.
Yeah.
So for you, was there, in regards to sort of finding purpose in life, right? You shifted your life, you left this sort of old life of yours and kind of move it into a new chapter. Was there something that like where the universe sort of punched you in the face and was like, this is your purpose? Where sometimes people are like, yo, I was doing this thing and it just struck me like lightning and this was now my purpose in life? Or was it sort of just, a process also, in terms of bringing you that way?
Definitely a process. I think naturally I'm quite good at creating experiences and people wanting to jump into the experiences and bringing people together. And obviously Nightlife is a form of that. But I was sick of just working within the confines of a nightclub. It was a case of just kind of understanding how I could apply these skills in different domains in my life. There definitely wasn't a one moment kind of shift.
Right. Was there a moment in that journey too where you were like, okay, this whole self-development thing is fucking hard. Like, I'm just going to go back.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. I mean, but you know what? When you're reading the books or taking the workshop, it's not that. That's not where the difficulty is. It is actually in the implementation. Yeah. So you fool yourself thinking, wow, I'm thriving. Look who I am. And then you have to overcome a toxic relationship and see how you go into default mode. And you're like, shit, I haven't, or spend a week with your parents and be like, I am not enlightened in any way. I'm just going back to my default spoiled little kid, So.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey guys, I just want to remind you, if you want to find more content like this, you can visit sebastiannaum.com. That's Sebastian, NAUM.com. You can also get a ton of other marketing resources from myself and my agencies, ranging from SEO to social media, influencer marketing, branding, web development, and more. Again, that's sebastiannaum.com. Thank you and enjoy the rest of the show.
So Oliver, the journey eventually leads you here, building a network of conscious entrepreneurs. What exactly is the Kinn?
So the Kinn is an environment which empowers startup founders, creators, people that are looking to launch a product or a service, and empowering them to be the best version of themselves, both personally but also professionally, having the resources, whether it be capital, whether it be education, to be the best version of themselves, and also be the best business leaders and most conscious leaders of themselves. And thinking about how we design a place that really helps people flourish is really the essence of the Kinn.
I love that. I feel like this is literally exactly what this podcast is about.
Right.
And the audience, you've built a space for anyone that is listening to this podcast, which is amazing. What's the big vision? What's I understand the mission and sort of how it can happen, but what is the big vision? Like, how do you see, like, what's that 5 year or potentially 10 years if you were like, this would be amazing if it happened?
Yeah, I mean, I personally didn't really want to take on this challenge, to be honest. Like, I was just waiting for the likes of a Soho House or another workspace kind of founder to come in and kind of put the pieces together. But it was for just frustration, being like, look, why do I come into a space and it's quite surface level in terms of how it's designed, the conversations that I'm having, it kind of is cut and paste of every other space that I've ever been in. And then why isn't there like more depth to it? So, it was a case of just finding out exactly how I can put these pieces together in an intentional environment and how we can scale that in different cities around the world. So it's a place that people can hang and have more deep-rooted conversations and inspire one another and what we're all working on and how we can support one another. That's really what I'd love to do, replicate the experience here in Venice and take it to different cities around the world. And then thinking about a digital component, how we can have other members that aren't blessed to live in certain cities,
right?
Or they don't want to live in certain places, but still have access to the community and the resources and the inspiration that comes into just people like you and I having a conversation right now, and what can stem from that.
Love that.
So,
well, I'm excited. I'm excited about it. I'm here for it. So let's talk a little bit about conscious entrepreneurship and what that means to you. What distinguishes a conscious entrepreneur from a conventional entrepreneur?
I think when it comes to like convention, it's look at the status quo. Why do you go into business? Oh, because there's a certain like number that I want to hit financially, or there's a status symbol with a particular career path that you're going down. When it comes to a conscious entrepreneur, you're thinking about what is the most meaningful problem to me and to the world that I can potentially solve using my skills, my experience, my background, and my passion. And really aligning those things to then be like, okay, I'm uniquely positioned to solve this problem, not purely because of the profit, but mainly because of the impact. And the byproduct of the impact is that you are able to be sustainable as a business and obviously make a living. Yeah,
absolutely. Out of these, so you've built successful businesses in the past. You still have some businesses that are still generating you revenue.
Yeah.
So how have those businesses previously or existing ones, what have they taught you the most about business that you are looking to implement into this conscious entrepreneur journey that you're embarking?
I think hospitality is a huge piece of it, right? Because even looking at the real estate industry, it's becoming more of a service-focused business. Mm-hmm. And the fact that I've been doing is serving people in really cool environments internationally, in nightclubs to restaurants, and being like, okay, how can this person have the best experience possible? And I feel like that trickles down into any form of business when you're looking at your customer and being like, look, how do you create that raving fan? Like, what is it going to take for them to walk away from the experience as a better version of themselves? The hospitality, the thread of that, I'm really kind of taking that into this kind of workspace, real estate, accelerator type model. And
what I think is interesting about that is even since the pandemic, I think that's even more important now than ever. I think that people are really vibing with experiences more than ever. And of course, you go to whether it's a talk or any sort of event, you typically forget about what people were saying or the conversations, but you don't forget the feeling.
Right.
You go home and you tell your friends about it the next day or whatever, because it's based on what you felt. And you come back based on the feeling. And sure, hopefully you can take some nuggets from that conversation. But that feeling that we were talking about is creating that experience is so key.
100%.
Yeah. You know, it's something that's really interesting to me, Oliver, in this sort of conscious business and mission-driven, entrepreneurship space is that we can get caught up in the do-good aspect of something so much to such an extent, they could also be really kind of easy to forget about the profits. How important is it to still keep profits top of mind in order to keep that mission and that North Star alive?
I mean, profits are essential. We're running in a capitalist society. It's run by money. So in order for you to hire the best talent, to invest in technology, invest in your staff, invest in your employees and the customer, you have to make money first and foremost. It's just the way it is. So yeah, when thinking about the business model and the problem you're trying to solve, first things first is really understanding how are you going to monetize this business. So yeah, separating the two things is super important.
And without the profits, you really can't have an impact.
Precisely. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the thing. That's what I love about the aspect, the whole conscious capitalism movement is that it allows you to scale good. It allows you to scale impact. Otherwise, we're caught in sort of a donation-based type nonprofit models, which are beautiful. Nonprofits do some amazing work, but without those donations, they don't work. So it's sort of combining the good of all of it, right?
Precisely.
Yeah.
And I can go more into it, but I had an experience when I was out overseas. I went to a conference. It was Stand By Ukraine. It was hosted by Global Citizen, and I was in front of a lot of nonprofits and organizations. And it was obvious to me that they were so dependent on how much money that they could raise that it was just about that next check versus thinking about the long term and thinking about how are you going to invent this technology that is going to make maximal impact. And how are you going to get these best, whether it be like various talent in different domains to get them engaged enough for them to see through all the work that you need to be done. Like it was just obvious to me that things needed to change. It was up to more of an agile entrepreneur that knew how to make money to then really make that impact. In addition to obviously nonprofits, which are super important, and impact organizations, but you just have to think about it more beyond raising cash and
Dude, it's funny because I am of the school. I learned that I never had funding for any projects. I always had to figure out, okay, this entrepreneurial project needs to make money in order to continue. So how is that going to work? And tech sort of brought on this whole new world of the sexiness behind angel and seed round and first and second rounds and all this stuff. And it's like, what? So wait, the winning is just the raising? It's like, so
crazy.
What's the actual business?
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
It's such an interesting thing.
Forget about the profitability piece. It's like how much money you raised.
Yeah, exactly. So Oliver, you're launching a physical brick and mortar, business endeavor, and you've had a lot of success, but doing something like this can really be, it is risky, right? There is a lot of uncertainty. How do you personally stay grounded when that sort of risk and uncertainty kind of hits?
I think it's like remaining, you're looking at your lifestyle and being like, okay, I have these many hours to work, but I also have to ensure that my mind's right. So it's like ensuring that I'm working out in the morning, I'm meditating. I have a technique where I try to think ahead of everything's already happened. I'm just living in reverse and letting that unfold naturally. So thinking, okay, I've already launched 10 locations. We have 10,000 members. What would I regret not being in my moment right now? The fact that it's already happened, and start acting that way versus acting out of lack and scarcity. Because, at the start of any endeavor, there's obviously a lot of risk. But if you switch your mindset to be like, okay, what would I act like if it had already happened? And then going back in time, I'm trying to be as intentional about that as possible and applying that.
That's amazing. How do you not allow that to get in some sort of like anxiety mode, right? Because anxiety typically kind of crawls in with like this sort of fear of the future and like if something's not happening. So it's already happened for you, right? And you're kind of working backwards. So as you're doing that, if things kind of aren't going that way, are you just constantly readapting to it?
I kind of laugh and be like, this is all part of the journey.
Yeah.
Like, this is where the growth is. This is great. This is exactly what I need. I need this challenge to overcome because I know where I am already.
Yeah.
This is just something to savor. And
so it's like constant. It's just trusting. It's just constant, just trusting and trusting and trusting
and belief that this is all manifesting the way it's supposed to manifest.
Perfect. This moment is perfect. This moment is perfect.
Precisely. And again, to get to that place, you have to do all the other things, the preparation, because otherwise you'll go into your like primitive self and your monkey mind, and things are going to come. So as much as you can get the prep work done to get yourself into that state.
Yeah, I love that. It is a great state. It's a great reminder, but you're right. You do have to do the work beforehand.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah. The other day we were having a conversation and I was like, Oliver, how are you feeling right now? You must be overwhelmed because, I mean, you got meetings nonstop and you've got networking events and dinners and talks and this and that. Are you just like tired as hell? And you were like, not really, man. You were like, I'm actually kind of energized from it. And I loved hearing that from you. And so do you feel that feeling energized is a tell that you're on the right path?
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. I define any relationship, any task, any place I visit energetically. Is it depleting energy right now, or is it giving me energy? Like this conversation right now, for example. And if you can steer your life and navigate in a way where it's more aligned with your energy versus your logical mind being like, oh yeah, the pros and cons, but how do you actually feel? And I try to use that as my North Star, my compass as I go about my day.
I love that. I love that, man. Yeah, because I feel energized as we're having this conversation.
Yeah.
I'm going to leave this conversation energized.
Right.
You're absolutely right. So it's like, how do you sort of in touch with your intuition, your feeling, how that vibes? It's so easy to just go back up here. Like, it's just like you just go back up here. Pros and cons, pros and cons.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a lot of people out there that probably feel stuck. Entrepreneurs that are sort of yearning for more, for purpose. How, like, what do you tell those people? How do they sort of start that journey to get unstuck from the sort of everyday, typical sort of capitalistic way, finding purpose?
So you could look at it two ways: stuck in terms of just themselves wanting to better them, like going to a new business endeavor, or stuck from being more corporate, old way of doing business to a new way of doing business. I can answer both.
Yeah, the latter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think experience. I think put yourself in uncomfortable situations. Seek out moments of growth, whether it's like voluntary work, or whether it's culturally rich travel, or people that have done things that inspire you. Go out and speak to them and seek mentorship, or even just a conversation or a coffee.
Yeah.
Because it's experience that shifts things internally that really move you.
Experience.
Yeah. It's
I feel there's a lot of limiting beliefs for sort of traditional business, which is the majority. I think we're surrounded by so many people that care a lot about mission-driven things and things like that. But the majority of the world still doesn't operate that way, right? So that's what we're doing here. We're trying to promote that. But I do think that there's probably a lot of limiting beliefs and ideas that people have, like, oh no, that's too woo-woo. That doesn't really work. You can't really scale that. There's no money in that. Do you feel that there's a lot of sort of those limiting beliefs that are just untrue?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. We all have limiting beliefs. We all have a unique point of view that's inhibiting us day to day. Our job is just to turn that limiting belief into white noise, because it's always going to be there. Everyone's always going to have some sort of insecurity about themselves, but it shouldn't dictate how you live your life. So the goal, through various ways, like I mentioned, experience, like mindfulness, exercise, great, healthy, joyful relationships. Seek these things out, and you'll get to a place where they're no longer determining how you show up in your day to day. So it really is getting out there.
Yeah, it is getting out there. I'm excited that I'm starting to see more of the big corporations implementing some of these experiences. They're either hiring consultants to bring in more consciousness into their companies, or working with big programs. They're coming in and they're sort of implementing, like, you couldn't even say the word meditation, 15 years ago at a corporation. I was like, what? So I'm excited about that, because there's a lot of, it's not just, you don't just have to be a founder or an entrepreneur. You can be an intrapreneur. You could be somebody that's already in a corporation. You're like, hey, look, like, being an entrepreneur doesn't work for me, and I need to put food on the table, and I love this consistency of my paycheck, and I love working for a big corporation because it can cause and generate a lot bigger impact than maybe me as a business owner. And I think that there's a lot of courage and amazingness in that, because we sort of, we do glorify entrepreneurship. We're entrepreneurs. That's sort of like the new, like, cool thing out there, right? But I think it's also amazing to be an entrepreneur, someone that's already in a company. It's like, how can I make a change inside of something that's already happening? How can I make ripples so that it starts to make big changes within a big company?
Definitely. Yeah, that is just as important.
As important.
There'll be no entrepreneurship without people that were within the organization running the business. So it's arguably more important, than those guys that are setting up businesses.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and it's also empowering, right? You're not being run by what the organization says they should be run by, culturally, how they do business. You're thinking outside the box. And most organizations really, really appreciate someone thinking differently.
Absolutely.
And Steve Jobs, I think Google have a Google X where they have a program that really encourages out the box thinking, and even departments and resources that support that, where you have a portion of your time devoted to experimenting with different products and services.
Yeah, I love this concept because I think it really is important for people to know that it's not just for you as a founder or an entrepreneur. This is so important for everybody.
Yeah.
So Oliver, I want to ask you, one of my final questions, which is, what are the top 2 traits that you believe a conscious leader must embody today?
Courage, definitely courage. And that takes work. So like cultivating that courage as much as you can. Seek out hardness and seek out suffering. I think that's a good thing. Imagination, think more than your norm, your day-to-days. How can you elevate your thinking and think in a way that is more creative, and get in those situations and seek those people out and go to those experiences. Those 2 things, courage and imagination.
Absolutely love it.
Yeah.
So Oliver, for those who are not physically in Los Angeles, who should definitely come and check out the space here in Venice, how can people get involved with the Kinn that are not physically here in LA?
Definitely follow us on Instagram.
Right.
So thekinn.co. That's one big way. And then get on our newsletter. So subscribe on the website and you'll be informed on all the things that are taking place. A lot of it is happening here in LA right now, but we are striking up partnerships in London and various other places where we'll be doing like offsites and obviously new locations potentially. But just, and guest speakers, if they're in town and they want to come to an event, that's another way they can get involved in the Kinn. And I'm always open to other ideas and people that, want to work together.
Great.
As well.
Love it. So for anyone out there listening or watching, of course, all the links will be in the show notes. And Oliver, keep doing what you're doing, brother. You truly are a conscious leader. So thank you for being on and keep doing you. And I'm very excited to be a part of this conscious entrepreneur network.
Thank you for having me. Yeah, thank you for what you're doing. It takes more people like you stepping up and really shining the bright light on conscious entrepreneurship. So
thank you, Oliver. Thanks so much, brother.
Hey guys, I really hope you enjoyed that episode. It takes a lot to put these things together, but I truly love doing it. If you enjoyed this episode or the show in general, and you listen to it on audio podcast, please take some time to give it a review. It would really mean a lot to me. And if you watch the video, please go ahead and just click subscribe and share it with somebody that you think would like it. It would really mean the world to me, and it helps keep the show alive. Visit sebastiannaum.com for more content and follow me on Instagram at sebnaum. That's SEBNAUM. Thanks again for spending your time with me. I know it is valuable. I hope you have a great rest of the day and week. Till next time.